Johnny, how you going?
Hello, how's it going, mate? All good?
Oh, doing well, doing well. How about you?
Yeah, fine. Everything going well over here in Scotland.
You're in Scotland at the moment. How's the lockdown going?
It's tough. I was a bit lucky that I actually had a pretty busy January and February, so we'd actually planned, a 3 or 4 week break when we got back from tournaments. So that kind of started when I got back, and then the lockdown happened, and now it's getting to the stage where it's a bit difficult, but take it a day at a time. There's obviously bigger issues going on right now,
Yeah.
so yeah, it's okay.
Have you been able to get on the court at all, or not really?
I've actually not played tennis since I was trying to work it out yesterday. I haven't played tennis since Chile, which is like over 2 months ago now. So I've done a few volleys and I've been doing some drills, but yeah,
That's
missing
brutal.
it.
I saw Nadal said the other day that he hadn't played since Indian Wells, since he was out at Indian Wells. That's a
Yeah, I think yeah, I mean it's difficult to, especially here in Scotland with the weather.
yes.
It's actually been nicer, but even to, I think American, my partner Aravallo, he lives in Fort Lauderdale, and he's still
Okay.
managing to get on the court, and he can social distance and still
Yep.
play. But for us, you have to go to an indoor center, which are all closed. So yeah,
Yes.
focusing on the fitness for now, and yeah, just trying to keep things ticking over.
You'll be keen when you get back. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
It's definitely one thing that I think a lot of people will gain from this, especially not just tennis players. I think we're all, definitely, we moan a little bit. The tour is difficult, the travel is difficult.
Yep.
Being away from home is difficult, but I think, especially when something like this happens, you realize how grateful you are for it, and I think everyone will have a slightly different, perspective when things start up again.
Yeah, definitely. Mate, so I got some questions to start off, and if people have questions to ask you, drop them in the comments, like I said before, and we'll try and get them to Johnny. But the first one I had was your junior career. What part of your game has been the most important to transitioning to a pro?
Um, I would say I think it's more mental and physical for me. Those were the two things that were the most difficult. I think your level's good. When you're 17, 18, you're striking the ball just as good as some of the guys on the tour. But um, I really struggled with the fact that you were playing people your own age, so they were having the same issues as you were. They were maybe weren't behaving quite like they should, or
Yeah.
hadn't really experienced the tour, and then all of a sudden you go into playing men, 30,
Yeah.
34, and they're
Experience.
fighting for their lives, they're fighting for the family's lives. So for me, I struggled with that, and that was a bit of a mental problem, and then also physical. You have to be so ready to go every day, um, and without picking out niggles. And also, I think actually one of the key things I've seen last year was actually, I remember I was with Ken Skupski playing a tournament in France, and there was maybe 3 or 4 tournaments in a row, and we were following the same schedule as Yannick Sinner before he'd
Okay.
kind of made his massive jump.
Yep.
Now he was obviously still a junior, but the way he was training, the way he was going about things was different to what everyone was doing. You could see his training had a real purpose. He
Just
was,
more professional.
yeah, more professional, but you could see that he was, when I tried to transition, when I was 17, 18, it was, I was kind of just so focused on maybe the outcome of what my next match was going to happen, what was going to happen the next round, or how I was going to try and get a few ranking points or something like that. But you could see he was properly practicing. This is what I'm going to be doing in 3, 4 years. This is what I want to work on now. This is what my game is going to be. So I think just having a real purpose to each session is very key.
Yeah, everybody that I've spoken to that's been at that elite level has talked about the like a process mind state and how that really helps you to develop. much more than like an outcome or winning the match, like you were saying, or ranking points.
Yeah, I think it's a cheesy answer to say focus on the process, but
Yeah,
you know, it is true.
yeah, definitely in some regards. You had a different path to the pros where you played university in Britain. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because most people probably have no idea that that's an option.
Yeah, well, I was training full time with the LTA at the National Tennis Centre, and there was a group of us: Kyle Edmund, Cameron Norrie, Liam Brody, Luke Bambridge, and it wasn't really an option for most of us to go to the American uni. It was only Norrie that was able to go there, and I think looking back, it would have been a great option for a few of us. I know I think that Bambridge thinks that.
Yep.
But so we went straight onto the tour and struggled with, you know, the things that I said, things that I mentioned, just being too young, too inexperienced. So yeah, I had a bit of a blip for maybe 1, 2 years, and then moved to Stirling, which is an hour from where my family home is. And the British setup is good. It's you know, it's a smaller scale than America
Yep.
University. And you have maybe 4 or 5 teams in Britain that are a high level. So it's a good setup. You can train like a professional there. The uni is good. You can try and get you know, into a degree and you know, train with good atmosphere, good team spirit. So yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed my time there.
Yeah, another option, and then obviously the school is good as well. So if you're a player that might look for something other than US colleges, I guess that's another avenue for you.
Yeah, exactly. That's always good to have, you know, something else to focus on.
Yes. So I had a question up here before. What's your favorite part of World Team Tennis?
It's got to be the team aspect.
Yeah.
Team aspect, I think the scoring is very fun. It's very fast. Yeah, it was my first year last year. I didn't really know what to expect with it all. And yeah, just being a part of a team playing like 17 matches in 21 days.
Yep.
And it's just so exciting. I remember one match we played in Washington where I think maybe we were 5-1 up, and then we were 5-1 down, and then, you know, there was just so many ups
Yep.
and downs
Yep.
that it was. I think we ended up winning on like a super tiebreak or something. So for me, it was just a bit more exciting with music after every point, kind
Yes.
of the way that tennis should be. If I was going to watch a tennis match,
Yep.
I wouldn't want to be told to be quiet in the crowd, or, you know, I'm going with some of my
Yep.
mates. I don't want to
Yep.
not speak to them, you know? So the fact that there was a good flow to it all was, yeah, I think it's just a great atmosphere.
Do you find that once you got used to the noise level that you were just able to focus and it wasn't such a big deal?
Yeah, for sure. I think it definitely took me, I think 3 or 4 matches, I was an absolute mess, putting in an average level. And then I started to kind of find a lovely rhythm to it.
Yep.
And like you say, when there's a lot of noise going on, you get into a nice thought process. You're not allowing yourself to, you know, think about any, you know, doubts or anything like that. It's kind of, you just, well, let's just go play. And yeah, it was almost like a sense of freedom out there.
Yes. How did you sort of get yourself to be able to focus so intensely? Because World Team Tennis is such you know, quick and intense format. And I spoke to John Lloyd a little bit about that, and it's got to be a little bit difficult for players to come in and be able to focus like really acutely like that. Is there any switches that you were able to sort of figure out how to focus for those times?
Um, Yeah, I think it was difficult. Again, I struggled with it at the start, just being able to, you know, walk in and start playing, you know, a high level match, because you're first of 5 games, you need to start quick.
Yeah.
So that was something I struggled with, but I was a bit lucky in towards the end that I knew where I was playing every night. So I think it was like first and third.
Yep.
So I was able to, again, get into a bit of a rhythm where it was, you know, okay, you switch on for, let's say, 45 minutes and then you're actually done. So yeah, I think it's just staying alert on the bench, getting involved in the bench, and that's
Yep.
something I'm a big fan of doing. So
Yeah, it was awesome. I went to my first game a couple of years ago. It was pretty intense experience. My next question was, how did you get the nickname Prince of San Diego?
I'm not actually sure how that came
Where
about.
did that come from?
I think I'm really not sure. I think we were joking around maybe,
Yeah.
and I think maybe we were playing with Darian King, so he was obviously the king.
Yeah.
So I
Okay.
was maybe like joking, being like, well, what am I? And I
Yeah.
think someone threw out the Prince, and really enjoyed that. And then I put it up for a bit of a joke, and
Yeah.
I remember Andy Murray replied straight away, absolutely abusing me. So he said, "What's happened to you, calling yourself the Prince of San Diego?"
Yeah.
So it stuck, and I quite like it.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. I see the aviators post every now and then saying the Prince of San Diego. It's good fun. How close do the players get during in the season?
Yeah, it was a little unfortunate with our team that we had quite a few people coming in and out. We didn't quite have a set. I think I was maybe the only player that played every match, and then Anna Groenfeld came in after three or four. So that was a shame that you like you say, you create a good bond,
Yeah.
and then you kind of lose it. But yeah, I think this year, or whenever we get to play the team, I played a few matches with them last year. Ryan Harrison, Christina McHale, and we had a couple of big wins on the first four nights. So yeah, when you go through ups and downs and the adrenaline rush of winning, and you're sharing it as a team, then it definitely creates a bond that you don't normally get on the tour.
Yeah. Where do you stay when you're usually here in San Diego?
We stay at the Omni La Costa in
Okay, you stay
Carlsbad.
at the
Yeah,
event, and then
yeah,
when
we
you're
stay there.
traveling, you just sort of you meet up from wherever location you're at.
Well, no, it's all done as a team, so we travel the whole
Okay.
time as a team. So we're fortunate to have a very good way of travel with the aviators. Nice little private jet that's pretty decent.
Perfect.
And then yeah, so we kind of buzz around, and then a couple of nights in a hotel in wherever we're playing, and then yeah, so it's definitely you're spending pretty much every day with the same guys.
Yeah, definitely. Who's your best mate on the aviators team when they're in town?
The aviators, I get on well with Ryan Harrison. And his brother, he played as well. They're
Yep.
really nice guys. And then Arena Rodionova, she was good fun.
Yep.
Um, so yeah, and Darian King as well. I had a lot of fun with him. I played a few matches with him, and then obviously last year we had James Ward, another Brit. So
Yes.
um, yeah, it was a real good selection of teammates last year.
Yeah, I remember when James Ward was here playing Davis Cup, and they put the clay court inside Petco Park. It was pretty
Mm.
awesome, and so it was US Davis Cup versus Great Britain, and I
Was that the
think
one
James
did he play Sam Querrey?
he played Sam Querrey and
Did
he
he
beat
win?
he
Yeah,
beat
he won,
Sam.
didn't
Yeah,
he?
it was a
Yeah.
huge that was a huge match.
Yeah.
Really
He's done
turned.
well against America, hasn't he, John Isner in
Yes,
Davis Cup?
yes, that was huge. I mean, it was a very good match to watch, and I was surprised because I didn't see a whole ton of people at the event, which is sort of disappointing because it was such a unique court inside a
Yeah,
baseball stadium.
yeah.
But yeah, that was a big match. My next question for you: do you have any superstitions or pre-match rituals?
Not really. I am quite superstitious. I've got none that are set, but normally it's kind of if I have a good win or I have a good round, then everything I'll try and keep the same for the rest of the week. So I remember in Australia this year, I'd shower in the same shower every single time.
Okay,
Um, just little things like that. Nothing crazy, but
nothing crazy.
no.
Yeah, so I know there's a lot of players who don't like stepping on the lines or have to have their rackets strung or different ways. So it's always interesting to see if anyone has superstitions.
Nah, I don't think I've got any of them.
Nah, you're either usually one way or the other.
Yeah.
So, how important is it for the server and the net player to both know where the serve location is going to go? I know there's a lot of probably recreational players that don't talk or communicate that, but for you guys, how important is it for the net player to know where the serve is going?
Yeah, very. Because where he serves, if I'm at the net and my partner serves, where he's serving completely, I'll be going to a different position. So there's obviously four serves. Let's say on the juice court, if he serves wide, I'm going to go to a different position than if it was tee, and even forehand body. If my partner's serving forehand body, then the returner is going to want to go cross court with that. So then I'm going to want to squeeze the middle a bit more. So if I then tell him to go backhand body, again, it's going to be more likely to want to return down the line. So again, I'll squeeze the line a little bit more. So you got to be real specific with it because, like I said, if I serve body, my partner's going to go, well, are you going forehand body or are you going backhand body? Because it completely depends on where he's going to be to cover the net.
Yeah, and I know most people that are watching this, obviously most are not going to be at your level, but I still think that can help people who are playing doubles to work with their partner on the location of the serve and then what you're covering, like you're saying.
Yeah, even if it's, like you say, if it's recreational, if you serve wide, then, you're going to have to want to cover your tram line a bit. But, and it's also a big, the Louis Cayer, who's, a very good doubles coach, he's made a career out of it. If you serve T and it's a good T serve, the guy's not going to beat you down the line. So you might as well squeeze as much as you can so you can help your partner.
Yes, you worked with Louis for a while, didn't you?
Yeah, I've been working with him now for three and a half years. Still speaking to him now, even in isolation, just trying to, get a bit more information. And yeah, he's an amazing doubles coach, but also an amazing coach.
What are a couple of things that he's big on that's helped you with your doubles game?
Well, I think he knows the doubles tactics inside out. So, he helps you with that. For example, I think one of my strengths is helping the server at the net because of, the positions I get to at the net and, how big it kind of makes me feel up there. And then also on other things, technically, he's actually a very good coach, which he probably doesn't get credit for.
Yeah.
But yeah, more just, doubles tactics. He's absolutely bang on and he can talk for hours about it. So, there's a lot of information to get from him.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of his stuff and yeah, he's really spot on. He's worked with tons of good doubles players.
Yeah.
Next question I was going to have is, let's see. What are some essential double skills that people need to have? Maybe they're singles players and they're trying to improve the doubles game, or maybe they're just trying to improve the doubles game in general. What are some essential things that you sort of have to have as a good doubles player?
I think number one rule is get the best partner you can get. That's something I've done pretty well. And then also you've got to be the best partner you can be. Whether that's staying positive when they're not feeling it, or taking a bit of pressure off them. And then other than that, I think it's just maybe looking into the tactics a bit, especially singles guys. They obviously hit the ball so well, serve well, return well, but sometimes they don't quite get the tactics right, and it's it's a completely different sport, doubles to singles. So just maybe just have a look into the tactics a bit.
Yes. What made you focus on doubles? When did you make that decision?
I made it pretty young. I think I maybe got to singles around 480 in the world.
Yeah.
And I probably, I could have maybe gone a bit higher. I think I could have made, I don't know, 250, 300, something like that. But, I had aspirations and goals of, competing in slams. I want one day, hopefully play the Olympics. I was struggling a bit financially, and I knew that it wasn't a smart decision to keep on playing singles if I wasn't going to get any success straight away. So I moved into doubles, and it's been a great decision for me.
Can you see yourself going back and playing some singles events in the future? Maybe getting back to that, or are you going to mostly focus on doubles now?
No, 100% doubles. People always, they say doubles is, it's obviously a complete different sport to singles. Singles is, let's say singles is the 100-meter race. Everyone wants a ticket for the 100-meter race, but doubles is long jump. Let's say that. Yeah. So it's it requires different skills. Is
there a bit more camaraderie on the doubles tour?
Yeah, probably. There's probably it's probably less. Well, I mean, I think you have to be as well, because singles guys travel with their own team as well, so they can kind of pick who they want to be around, friends, fitness coaches, stuff like that. So, maybe. I mean, us Brits are very close in the doubles team. I think so.
Yeah, there's a good comment. doubles is fun to watch. I mean, it's such a quick and explosive sport. What are some of the toughest shots in doubles? Obviously, maybe like a half volley from the middle if you're serving and bowling, or a return down the tee. Some of the specific trouble spots for doubles players.
I think there's a couple. Obviously, if you come against a good server and a good server's partner, they can really put pressure on you to make returns. You know, if they're taking up the middle of the court, they're serving to good spots, then you can really, feel the court small. Because singles, I mean, when I played singles anyway, a lot of the time I saw myself as a good returner, and I saw myself returning middle. You know, you return middle, you hit it a little bit early. Let's say it goes down the line, you hit it a little late, it goes cross court. Whereas in doubles, you have a much smaller space to hit. Which works two ways. I prefer that because I can really, zone in on that target. And then, I mean, there's lots of difficult ones. A first volley, if someone hits a good return to you, and again, you've got a good return that you've got to face. You've got to hit a tough first volley, and let's say you've got John Peers in your face, who's one of the best returner partner. That's, it puts a lot of pressure on you.
Yeah, do you notice all those different skill sets of the elite guys, like the best servers partner and returners partner? Do you guys sort of know who those players are on the tour?
Yeah, I think that, again, another thing Louis Cayer is very good at. He has stats of who are the best at that. But you definitely feel it. I mean, John Peers is one of the best returners partners. So if his partner hits a good return, he really gets in your face for the next shot. So that's, very difficult to face. Also Jamie. I've played Jamie a few times, and he's very difficult at making life tricky, especially when you're at the net. He can get all over it. So you're definitely aware of, little small movements and things that people are doing.
Yeah. How often do you think the winner of the match is the team that basically controls the center of the net? Do you think it's most of the time?
Yeah, I mean, the margins in doubles are so small. You aim for 52% of the points. That's what you want to win. So a lot of the time, people are making moves that might not be the correct move to make, but it's in your head. So let's say 8-all in the tiebreak, you've got a difficult shot. You remember, oh, Jamie actually, he crossed on this point. So then you think about that, and you hit a more difficult shot. That's kind of what doubles is all about. You want to try and make your opponents hit the toughest shot that's possible.
Yeah, make them as uncomfortable as you can all the time.
Exactly, yeah.
So when I was playing doubles, one of the things that I struggled with probably the most was when you have a tough returning day. It's so important to return well in doubles. What are some strategies that you can recommend players if they're having a tough day on return?
Yeah, it's tough because you feel like you're not facing many. So it's difficult to get in a rhythm. I've had a few of those days where I would just wish I could get on the practice court before playing the next game. But it's just kind of like I mentioned with margins. If you're not quite feeling it, you rein in the margins a little bit. You start to, let's say if you hit a couple of middle, even if the guy knocks the volleys away, then it's still going to give you a little bit of confidence to then start going for the ones you want to go for. And then also, there's the chip lobs that can just kind of get you into the points. And then it's the more returns you make, the more confident you feel. Even if they're not the best returns, if you feel like you're making a few, then, you can start going for the bigger ones.
Yeah, for sure. What does the average sort of doubles practice look like for you? Whether you're working one-on-one or two-on-one, what are some things that you sort of like spend a lot of time on the practice court?
Very different to singles. Again, it was something that I found quite interesting going from singles into doubles practice because, it's very specific. You're not hitting up and down the middle for long because, you don't do that. So you normally warm up, move into the cross courts because that's where you normally hit. When you're at the baseline, you're hitting cross court. Move into the volleys, each box, some first volleys. Different volley skills at the net, so you're trying to steal some shots, maybe some from the wall, and then a lot of it's serve and return because that's where the money makers are.
Yeah, and like something you notice with pro doubles players is like how you guys how close you can get to the net and still have great hands to put it away. So I'm guessing in your doubles practices you spend a lot of time taking tough balls very close to the net as opposed to net players who probably should work on more of their first volleys further back.
Yeah, so yeah, exactly. That's when you're warming up your volleys or when you're practicing them, you normally have three different positions you go from. You go from the wall, which would be if it was a 50-50 position, you would then move very close to the net to, work on the reactions. Let's say, you're up 70% in the rally. So you're looking just to knock them off sideways.
Yep.
And then also, the ones where you have to defend. So, let's say you feed a short forehand and the guy spanks a forehand at you and you have to try and steal it back because, those are the ones that you never know. Practicing them, that might save you 1 point. And if that 1 point comes at 8-all in the breaker, then you're laughing into the next round.
Yeah, 100%. I think a lot of the club players that I see play, I feel like everybody can put pace on the ball, but it's much harder to absorb pace. How important do you think at your level it is to be able to absorb the pace of a big groundy at the net?
Yeah, I mean, I think Jamie Murray's a prime example of that. His manipulation of the ball is, maybe one of the best in the world. His racket skills, how he places his racket to just use the pace on the ball. Because obviously at the net, you're not swinging much. You're just using the pace and using your legs to add pace a little bit. But yeah, like you say, I think it's important. And, Jamie's made a whole career out of putting the ball in tricky positions that are coming to him quickly. And, he's learned how to deal with the Kachanovs, the Rublevs, hitting big balls at him, and he's able to just manipulate it to a different, a more difficult position.
Yeah, use that pace from them. Yeah, it's tough because that's probably the number one thing you see with club players, and a lot of people that will watch this talk is just trying not to get them to swing. Try and use the pace that's given rather than always adding your own pace because you're going to make more errors.
Yeah.
Who are some of the toughest doubles combinations that you've faced?
Got to be the Bryans. Played them twice now. Lost close both times. I mean, it doesn't really matter that it was close, but it makes me feel a bit better.
Yeah.
They were just so tricky. They put so many balls in the court. I think we played them this year in Delray Beach and probably felt like we were the better team. On top of them the whole way through, set up, looking to try and get that break in the second set, but they're making so many balls. They're reading the play better than anyone I've played against. When they're both at the net and you're both at the back, the way they can read where your shots are going is incredible. I've not really seen it from net players do it that well. It's you kind of get taught where to go. So let's say you hit a volley here, the most likely shot's going to be here. But I mean, they were kind of able to read shots that, you could go anywhere with them, but they were still reading it from, your body position or where you were hitting the ball from. So they make life, very difficult. And then I think probably Cabal Farah. I've played them a couple of times, and they're just such a good team, always together, never giving up. Just make life very tricky.
Yeah, it's fair to say that the Bryan brothers probably play the best high percentage doubles of anyone. So if you have to beat them, you got to go against the grain to win your points.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think and that's why they're the best team ever. They make more balls than anyone, and their intensity's there the whole way through. You have to kind of play a different way against them, and you have to fully commit to it, because if you don't fully commit to it for 2 sets, they're going to peg you back.
Yeah, definitely. Got a question here from Austin Price. Are there any players on the tour with a two-handed volley?
No, but I mean, again, it depends on the situation. I think maybe Rocher, when he's at the net as service partner and he gets real close, he's probably swiping a couple of times with 2 hands. And I think a few players probably do that because it's, you can keep the racket head in a stronger position. But I think any further back than closer to the net, then no, there'll be no 2 hands.
Just starts to limit the reach. Yeah,
exactly.
I think as a coach, I think a two-handed volley is okay to start and to learn, but I think you want to progress to one eventually.
Yeah.
Was the next thing I was going to say. Let's see. So, communicating with your partner when you go into a match against a top-ranked team. Are you more concerned with what you guys need to do as a team, or scouting the opponent and knowing their weaknesses and trying to pin on those weaknesses? What's more important, your side of the net or theirs?
I mean, I think it depends who you ask. I know a lot of people that are very different. For me, I prefer just to know a couple of things about my opponents, and that's more. You can find out stats of, where their favorite serves are, especially on big points. And then what they will do after that. You can kind of see. So let's say, I remember in the Australian Open, I was playing Michael Venus and John Peers. Now, when Venus serves, they like to serve from eye, and on a big point, they'll probably cross. So that's all I like to know, because then on a big point, let's say I'm a bit nervous, I don't, I want to kind of just take the decision out of my hands. I know, okay, they're probably going to play eye and they're probably going to poach. So I'm going to return line here. But I think other people are different. They probably like to know exactly where they're going to be serving. But I think, you want to focus on your own game. You want to focus on what you guys can do to control the match, and that's probably, how you're going to get the wins.
Yeah, that's very good advice. So here's Coach Mike. What are some of the main differences you see between top singles players who play occasional doubles and double specialists like yourself in terms of habits and tendencies? It's a really good question.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of it is on the serve, where they stand when you're returning. So let's say the server's partner, he should be more in the middle. You should always have, I think, let's say if you're on the deuce side, you should always have your left foot in the middle of the box. So, you're taking up a real strong, dominant position on the court. And it gives me, as a returner, it gives me great confidence seeing, let's say the singles guys. Again, I bring it back to Australian Open this year. First round, I played Londero and Hugo Dellien. And, they're obviously very good tennis players. If I was to have a go at them at singles, they'd absolutely dice me up. So it gives me great confidence seeing them serving and seeing the guy almost standing on the tram line, because all of a sudden I've got a huge
window in the middle,
target to aim for, which, again, it just makes me feel a lot better before the point starts. And then also you can kind of work with your partner, if they're doing that, then, you try and return middle. They're not going to take it. And then obviously my partner's then going to squeeze the court. So it's just completely, tactic based, because if you're going to go play the singles guys at their game, you're out of here. So you got to find a way around it.
And the points are so short. I was going to ask you, whereabouts do you get the data from your opponents? Is that where, like, Louis will help you, or he'll find that for you and present it to you?
Yeah, I think that's, so we get it from, the LTA, or we have maybe, I don't know what it's called, some sort of video analysis where my coach will go look at it and he'll chart quickly, the plays and stuff. And, you can start to build a nice little book of what the guys like to do.
Well, and how about when you guys come up against a player or players that you've never seen before? Is it more of like trying to figure out what it looks like in the warm-up and how you might attack their shots?
Yeah, then you just go 100% on what you're putting on the court. Okay. And then, you can, there's always little things you can see. Technically, there's quite a few things, which again, I would never have had a clue on until I started, properly looking at it. But different techniques on the backhand volley. Let's say, you've got someone who's swinging on the backhand volley. Very difficult for them to go down the line with it. So you start playing with little things like that. And it just makes your chances slightly higher, and 52% of the points, that's all you're looking for in a tennis match.
Yeah, that is pretty amazing when it goes down to the percentages.
Yeah.
A question here from Tennis Recon: what is the best piece of doubles or tennis advice Louis Cayer has given you?
There's too many to go from. The guy's an absolute book. Um, I think one he always is always a standout for him is when you're both at the net, your opponents are both at the back. Never two forehands in a row. That's the one that his favorite one is. If you give him two forehands in a row, you're done. So one forehand and then find the backhand.
Yeah, that's something that I saw a video of him about 2 years ago, and he was talking about that. And it's so simple, but when that hit me, I was like, oh, it makes perfect sense. They're playing with these guys with massive forehands. Don't give them
Exactly.
two
Yeah.
forehands in a row.
Yeah.
What's Johnny's favorite part of working with Coach Lloyd?
It's got to be the banter. Has to be the stories that he comes out with. It's so much fun. No, but he's a great coach. Was obviously such a good player. Even though he jokes about it and stuff like that, he was a great player. He was playing against in the biggest tournaments against some of the biggest names. So he's got a lot of knowledge. He simplifies it, and yeah, he's just great fun to be around.
Yeah, the talk with him was hilarious. You didn't want to give too much information away with that question you asked him, though.
No, he didn't speak to me about that after, so I think I was in bad books.
Speaking of John Lloyd, he gave me a question to ask you. So the question
Yeah.
the question to ask you is: have you seen the greatest movie ever made, The Godfather?
Yeah, I mean, here we go. He says the greatest movie ever is The Godfather, but if you speak to him for 5 minutes, he's mentioned Twilight about 8 times.
Twilight.
So yeah, I mean, he loves Twilight. So he goes on and he rips us about The Godfather, but his favorite film's The Twilight. So how reliable is the guy?
I think the credibility would have been high if you didn't mention Twilight. I don't know.
Exactly.
What's your favorite slam?
Um, Obviously, Wimbledon being a home slam, it's got
Yeah.
all the tradition, but for me, the best one's Australian Open. It's run unbelievably well. Everyone loves being a part of it. I had my best results there.
Nice.
It's just such a feel good slam.
Yeah.
You're made to feel great, and yeah, I love it
Yeah,
there.
it's an awesome city. I grew up in Melbourne, and I used to ride my bike to the tennis center. I grew up training at that tennis center before I came to college. But yeah, it was awesome. Right on the Yarra, it was a brilliant place.
Yeah, it's an amazing place, and
Yeah.
everyone just loves the tennis vibe those 2 weeks. So it's just brilliant.
Yes. So we got a question here. Any tips for the forehand volley?
Any tips for the forehand volley? Again, it obviously depends on what where you're hitting it from, how deep
Yep.
in the box you're hitting it from. I think the key has to be keeping it out in front, and not swinging on it. You use the pace, keep the ball out in front, and just keep the racket going where you want it to go. I think the best key I can give on volleys is don't aim for the baseline. Don't aim for where you want to go. If you want to keep the trajectory on the volley, which is the most important thing, it's not actually, at times it's not that important where it goes, but you want to look at the net tape, and that's your trajectory. So every volley you want to be nailing at that net tape, and then as soon as you start doing that, your volleys improve massively.
Yeah, that's really good advice. Targeting that net strap. So considering that the tour is sort of cancelled for a little bit, do you have any plans? And how has it affected your tournament schedule?
Well, I mean, obviously there is no tournament schedule.
Are you sort of taking a tournament off the calendar as it's being cancelled, or are you able to enter?
Not really. I mean, I think it's what's going on right now is so big that
Yeah.
it's difficult to even think about tennis. It's more about when are we going to get normal life back. So to be honest, I struggle seeing tennis going ahead this whole year.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so difficult to organize tournaments. It's 6 months planning. just to get tournaments going. So, how can tournaments start planning now?
Yeah, so
And then
The
obviously
French Open said they moved to September, but I don't see that's going to go ahead.
yeah, but even the slams, if the slams go ahead, is it fair that the slams are going ahead without challengers, without futures?
Yeah.
So, I don't see how it's going to be possible. I hope it is, and I hope things get back to normal. But I think it's more important, just staying safe, staying healthy, and we
Yeah.
can get back to it when it's all ready to go.
Is it? It's basically a shelter in place in Scotland right now, so you're not really allowed out of the house, or is it you can go
No, yeah,
exercise?
I mean, we're lucky we get an hour exercise a day. I think some other European countries, Spain, Italy, have been in lockdown where they weren't even allowed outside. So, at least,
Yeah.
we can get out for an hour. So I'm grateful for that. But it's difficult. My family live, an hour away from me. And, it would have been great to see them when I'm back because, I travel so much. But, I'm
Yeah.
not able to see them. But I live here with my girlfriend. So, I mean, it's okay. It's nice being back in Scotland. I just moved into a flat. So I've been building and stuff like that.
Get it
So
set up.
it's not the end of the world.
Mate, I saw a trick shot from you on Twitter, a chip shot in your house. It was
Yeah.
unbelievable. You must be a
Yeah.
pretty good golfer.
Yeah, I grew up on a golf course. I probably prefer golf over tennis. That's the one thing that's killing
Really,
me that's gone right now is that
really.
I can't get out on the golf course. But no, I'd like to say that trick shot took me one or two goals, but I mean that was probably half of lockdown, that one.
Who's the best golfer you've played with on the tennis tour?
Well, from in Britain, I know that Tim Henman, he's an unbelievable golfer. I think he plays like 5 or 6 times a week. Um, and then there's a few good guys from Britain. Dan Evans plays good golf. Jamie Murray plays good golf. Andy plays good golf. The Skupskis, they play good golf. I did win the British Golf Day, so I'd
Did
like
you?
to chuck my name out there, but you
Nice.
never know.
Oh, good on you. Well, if there's no more questions, mate, I just wanted to say thank you so much for doing this. It was a pleasure speaking to you.
Perfect. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. And then when you're in San Diego, I'll come and say good day.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Yeah, stay safe during the rest of your quarantine time, mate, and all the best.
You too. Cheers.
See you, Johnny.